our guy Steve Lacy, who we've uh we've talked about a few times. We talked about his last day solo album, um, and he just dropped this new album, Gemini Writes. And,
Second
after
second full length.
the second full length solo album, and I think after his last album, we weren't super excited because uh, I think Apollo, what was that, 21? Is that what it is?
21, yeah.
Apollo 21 was like, okay, there's some good stuff on here. Steve Lacy kind of finding his footing. We're going to kind of give him a pass for his first one. The lo-fis, I don't even know if we talked about, right? Did we? No.
No.
So it's like,
Mm-mm. We talk about him
what
on
were
the
you,
internet, of course.
yeah, but what were you really expecting going into this?
Yeah, well, I think that's right. There was a lot of hype and anticipation for that first Steve Lacy solo album, Apollo 21, because there was a lot of anticipation for Steve Lacy off the Steve Lacy's demo project, a project he recorded on an iPhone, and next thing you know, he's helping Kendrick with Damn, and he's working with Solange, and he's a part of the internet as well, and conspicuously was a part of the internet rising in critical estimation around ego death when he joined. So like a lot of anticipation for Steve Lacy when he was still, around a teenager, like 20 years old. And that debut album was just kind of a bit half baked, a bit undercooked for the talent that was evident. So coming into the second album, I was just hoping to continue that forward momentum or restart it, I guess, you know, because I think the promise of Steve as a soloist was a bit different than his contributions to the internet, the band, because I think his music at his best to this point was a bit more up tempo, a bit more energetic, a bit more personality filled than say the internet, where Sid's vocals can be a bit softer, right, by design. So coming into this point, couldn't help but notice that the big hit off Steve Lacy's demo, Dark Red, became an even bigger hit on TikTok, went platinum for the first time this year, 5 years, almost 5 years after it come out. So one would hope that Steve had noticed that there was interest in the most well received stuff he had put out to this point. And if we calibrate a little bit from Apollo 21, we can get something cool. I did not expect this second album, Gemini Writes, to be nearly as impressive as it was. And it's just so much better than Apollo 21. I find it really, really mind blowing. I was like, wow, like this is like, he's like right back on track now. That's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think for me, what surprised me most about this album was um, the way that he infused so many different genres in such a succinct way, right? And it feels very much a true testament of his artistry and the influences that he loves and that he really um, has always tried to kind of put into his music, but he was just able to do it in such a clear way in this. And every single song sounds different, but also the album sounds very cohesive and has a very distinct feel to it. And it feels very like light and airy and summery, kind of similar to what you would think about when you think of someone born on the cusp of summer. But also, I think is super interesting. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you talk about the TikTok influence. So many of like the moments on here feel made to be just like repeated in your head in short bursts. Like for me, we came onto the pod today and I was singing one of the lyrics from Sunshine, where during the chorus for saying my ex like my name ain't Steve. It's so good, and it's just like I can just see that blowing up on social media, as like
Sure.
a meme in some way. So I just was like really pumped to see him kind of level up in the second solo album. Talk to me about the songs that stood out to you most.
Yeah, I think the lead single "Bad Habit" immediately grabbed me when I first heard it in advance of this whole album. That's the song where I was like, oh no, he noticed people like Dark Red, because this is like that's the Steve Lacy banger, as it
Mhm.
were, a guitarist who makes R&B and funk music with jazz influences. That's his equivalent of a banger, and it's a good one. Uh,
Yeah.
I think Bad Habits just incredibly catchy. But overall, on that song, on many of the songs that Gemini writes, I think Steve vocal performance is the best we've
Mhm.
ever heard from him. He's very animated, very energetic. He's just has imbued more personality into his actual songwriting and performance. And I think that does really go a long way because again, we felt a little bit lacking before, but now he feels like so much more of a fully fledged personality. And I think a big part of that is this album is super sexual, super
Yeah.
romantic, and Steve had been out as a queer man for years at this point. But I think now we're really seeing him just being open and honest in his music as well. So, and I
Mhm.
think it really all starts with Bad Habit, which is just a blast.
Yeah, I completely agree. I can't even. I think you summarized that so well. I don't even know if there's more to add with Bad Habit other than like, man, those lyrics in that chorus. Can I bite your tongue like a bad? I mean, like, how do you not get that stuck
It's a
in your head?
headbanger,
I listen
man.
to it.
Like you're
It's
banging your
so
head to
good.
this shit.
I know, but
Like
in listening to this, I think the songs that I like the most sound so timeless. Like Helmet was probably the first song in listening straight through that really like grabbed me. I think Static's okay, but not one of my favorites on the album. But
mm,
Helmet, the second track,
yeah,
this sounds almost like a Stevie Wonder track in some way. You know, it's got those distorted guitars like playing in the background over this like percussion, and it feels like
yeah.
something that could be from the 60s or 70s, or obviously from 2022. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I really like the way he sings on that song too. He really lets like the notes kind of hang for an
Yeah.
extra beat too. It's just like that kind of touch where it's like, man, like he's like really in his bag with the performing here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought Helmet was awesome. The song right after that, Mercury, the horns almost giving off like a vague like mariachi vibe to me.
Yeah.
Um, really enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. That was a great flourish on Mercury. What else on here? Sunshine, obviously, like I
Yeah,
mentioned, I think is probably my second favorite track on the whole thing. And the way that him and Fouché
yeah.
go back and forth is just gorgeous. She has real like Halsey vibes in her voice. Like she
Oh,
has that like I don't know what it is like almost like purr to her vocals at times, and then she can like burst through and just have this angelic voice. I was really impressed, and I thought them together were a great combo. Um, any other tracks that really stood out to you?
I think we kind of nailed all of those for the most part. I thought Cody Freestyle actually was kind of interesting for like the frankness of some of the lyrics there. Again, the sexual themes coming out. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall, I think this is quite easily for me my favorite solo album from any of the internet members. Not that it's a competition, but this is the one that I found the most fun to revisit, I think. And Steve mixes up the genre, but like generally, like it's just the energy is there, and he really matches that with the production and the instrumentation. But he matches that energy with his performance as well, vocally. So I think it's just a real great listen, and I think Bad Habits going to come around for us at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this album might come around for me. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably gonna give it a few more listens. But again, check out our Nostalgia Best of 2022.